In section 8.1, we're going to be talking about equations in two variables and being able to solve those equations over the given domain of the variables. Now, when we say two variables, we simply mean that we have something like 4x plus 3y equals 10. We have two variables. It could be 5c minus 2d equals 4. Whatever it is with two variables. We're used to working with something like 3x minus 4 equals 7, or 7y minus 3 equals 21, or even y squared minus 3y plus 8. But here we only had one variable, here we have two. The first thing that we're going to practice doing is stating whether an ordered pair is a solution to a two-variable equation. So if I have the two-variable equation 4x plus 3y equals 10, we're going to go ahead and check these points. We're going to go ahead and check 4, -2, -2 and 6, 3/2 and 4/3, and 3 -1. Now when I simply say check it, this kind of equation actually forms a line, and we're going to see which points. We're going to go ahead and check these points and see which ones would fall on that line. So remember, this is our x and this is our y. Or if it was c and d, these usually go in alphabetical order, so this would have been c and this would have been d. So in this case, we're going to take 4 times our x of 4 plus 3 times -2, and we're going to check and see if it equals 10. So I get 16 plus -6. Does that equal 10? Yes. So this is a point on the line. Let's try our next points here. We have 4 times -2 plus 3 times 6. Does that equal 10? Well, we have -8 plus 18. Does that equal 10? Yes, there's another point on our line. I'll do this next one with you, and then I'll give you the last one. Here we have 4 times 3/2 plus 3 times 4/3. And does that equal 10? 2 cancels out, becomes a 1. 4 becomes a 2. Here I get 6. 3's cancel and I get 4. So yes, this is another point on the line. You go ahead and try this one. So we're going to take 4 times 3 plus 3 times -1. Does that equal 10? 12 plus -3. Does that equal 10? No. So this point here is not a point on the line. So just you're taking your coordinate and plugging it in for your variables here to see if it works. The next thing that we're going to try to do is to solve an equation for y. So solve equations for y. And as we work through this chapter, it's very important that you know how to solve equations for y, because that's one of the main ways that we're going to be graphing lines. So if I have the equation x plus 1 times y equals 3, and I want to get y by itself, what would I have to do? Oops, there's a 1 here. I would have to divide by x plus 1 on both sides. And these cancel out. So now I have y equals 3 over the quantity x plus 1. Now let's just go ahead and fill in a table of values for our x and our y. And what we want to do is pick a value for x and then see what it equals in y's terms. And we want to try to get our y to be a whole number. So let's go ahead first and try 0. If I plug 0 in for x, I get y equals 3 over 0 plus 1, and y would equal 3 over 1, which equals 3. So if I plug in 0 for x, I would get y equals 3. Let's try 1. If I plug 1 in, what would I get? I would have 3 over 1 plus 1, which would be 3/2. And we're going to try to stick with whole numbers, so we don't want to use that one. What if I do 2? If I do 3 over 2 plus 1, I get 1. So we can use that value. And we just want to be able to do this so that we can practice graphing. The last thing that we're going to talk about is forming an equation from a story problem. So in this problem here, it says that Dawn spent $13 on pens and notebooks. The pens cost $2 each and the notebooks cost $3 each. How many of each did she buy? Well, when we have a problem like this, we want to take one of them and set it equal to x, and we want to take our other one and set it equal to y. So I'm going to say that we have x pens and y notebooks. I know that each pen costs $2, so I'm going to have 2 times my number of pens plus how much would each notebook? 3 times my number of notebooks, and I get a total of 13. Now what we want to do is we want to figure out what would our values of x be in order to get a whole number for our y, because we can't buy part of a pen or part of a notebook. So my first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to solve for y. So I have 2x plus 3y equals 1 or equals 13. Trying to get y by itself, but first I need to move my x away. I'm going to have you just get in the habit of putting this x term first, and as we work through the chapter you'll see why I'm having you do that now. So we're going to have negative 2x plus 13, and we're going to divide everything by 3. So we want to figure out what whole numbers of x give me whole numbers of y. So let's just mess here. Let's see, if I plug in a 0, I would get 13 over 3. That will not work. So 0, we tried, it won't work. If I plug in a 1, I would get negative 2 plus 13. Negative 2 plus 13 is negative 11. Negative 11 over 3, that won't work. What if I plug in a 2? If I plug in a 2, I get negative 4 plus 13, which is 9, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. How about a 4? 4 would give me negative 8 plus 13, that won't work. 5 would give me 7 over 3, that won't work. 6 won't work. 7, looking back, we did negative 4, or we did 2, negative 2 times 2. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 13 over 3, that won't work. Negative 2 times 4 would be negative 8 plus 13 over 3. I mean, negative 5 over 3, that won't work. 5, if I take negative 2 times 5, I get negative 10. Negative 10 plus 13 over 3 would be 3 over 3, which would give me 1. So our two combinations that we could possibly have are 2 and 3, 5 and 1. To have had bought 2 pens and 3 notebooks, or 5 pens and 1 notebook. For the assignment, we're going to do page 351. Page 351 through 352. And we're going to do 3 through 39, the multiples of, you know what, we're going to do 3 through 42, the multiples of 3, and the mixed review. And looking at numbers 1 through 12, 2 answers, and it's just yes, no answers. So you have to answer for both set of coordinates. Numbers 13 through 36, I want you to solve for y, and then find the whole number coordinates. That will work. So just like we did on that last page with the pens and notebooks, if it was a fraction, it didn't work. So plug in your whole numbers for your x's and see what you can get out for your y's to get those whole numbers. Number 39 is a story problem for you to do. So 39 is a story problem. And then number 42, cross multiply. And then solve for x. And then the mixed review.